Wow, that's gonna make for a good picture. Wow, Ryan.
You talk about, oh, you want your child to be healthy and bright and all those things, and I did. But when he came out, I was like, oh, the cat's cuter than him. He was scrawny. He was 5 pounds, 15 ounces, about 19 and a half inches. So he was long and he was scrawny and he didn't look like he had any fat on him at all. I'm just like, okay, we're gonna be one of those people that can have that child that someone's gonna walk around going, oh, that's a really nice blanket. What a cute outfit he has on. But he definitely, he grew and got chubby and beautiful, and he was definitely the light of our lives at that time.
You ready for this?
Thumbs up. Pro, man. Pro.
Like this, Ryan?
Yeah. Gee.
He came in the room and it would always be smiles and laughs and whatnot.
So Ryan, tell me where we are. And it's Christmas time, right? 2007?
Okay, it's Halloween and we're in California.
Okay. I remember that he had gone for lunch with Heather.
He's like, you know, so I was thinking that maybe James and I would go to a ski resort for the winter. And he had that look on his face, like he was nervous to kind of tell me because he didn't know what my reaction was going to be.
Both of us were fine with that. And like, I was excited for him. I was like, yeah, absolutely. You know what? You're young right now. You're only young once, and have some fun. And we knew that he was only going to be gone for a few months because the season only lasts for so long. And I said, you know, if in between and you don't like it, there's always, you can come home.
He was really excited about going. And so he left December 1st.
I would text him all the time and said, you know, how are things going? And he was having a really good time. His dog was his world, right? Oscar would sit upstairs and look out the window, and I'd take pictures of him. I'd say, who do you think he's waiting for, right? And he'd be like, well, me, of course. We said, come home for Christmas, like, even if for a day. And he said, no, you know, I'm gonna stay with my mates. And I was like, okay, well, have fun and, you know, send us some pictures, right? So he did that, and we had all his presents here waiting for him, and when he was gonna come home, he could open them up. And
I would have thought that that he might have suffered from homesickness. I certainly did for him, especially around Christmas time. We've always gathered together as a family. We've never been apart in 20 years since Ryan's been born that we haven't all been together as a family. So this would have been our first one.
I don't know, I'll just be by myself and I'll see a photo of him or something like that. And And in those moments, it's when it gets difficult. That this might be this is the reality that I'll have to face or not deal with for the rest of my life. That I most likely will never see him again.
On February 17th, 2018, at approximately 8:47 p.m., Kamloops Rural RCMP received a report that Ryan Shtuka was missing. He hadn't been at work that day, he wasn't in contact with friends on Facebook, and he wasn't answering his phone. So at that time, Kamloops Rural RCMP contacted our police dog service and headed towards Sun Peaks. The previous day, Ryan had went to work, and after that had went with some friends to a local bar and grill in Sun Peaks. After the bar and grill, they went to a house party on Burfield Drive, and that was the last place that Ryan was seen.
People thought maybe he was sick or hadn't come in. His roommates, I don't think, really realized that he was missing. They realized that he hadn't gone home, and I think they assumed that maybe he went home with a girl or he crashed on someone else's couch, which is super common up here. And then it really hit them later that night. They started texting people, calling people. They were looking for security footage up until the point where they decided to call the hospital to see if he had been taken down in an ambulance. And at that point, they called police and Ryan's parents.
And we got the phone call late in the evening on that night, close to 10 o'clock, I think.
And so for him to not to show up for work, I just knew that that couldn't be him. Not going home, I don't know if I knew if that meant anything, but him not showing up for a shift, I knew that couldn't have been him, and not touch base with anybody.
I had an intuition. It was kind of strange. Like the hair in the back of my head went up kind of thing, right? And I knew. I told Heather, I said, let's get our bags packed and we got to go now. And
it was the longest and the shortest drive I think I've ever had. And it was 9 hours. Our stomachs were just in knots. Like Scott had to pull over every 15 minutes because we just couldn't make it all the way up there. He had to pull over and breathe because I think we thought at that time we hadn't heard from the RCMP since probably about 2 o'clock in the morning. And I think we just thought they're not going to tell us the worst news. They're not going to tell us the worst news because we're driving. They're going to wait. And so we expected the worst news when we drove up there. I think that we were trying to prepare ourselves. And I think we just couldn't believe, like in a blink of an eye for us, everything that we had, everything that we loved, everything that we cared about was all changed.
We know that he was last seen at that house on Burfield Drive. And from there, our police dog service attempted to find a track. And the people at the party were spoken to by investigators to see if anybody had discussed with him that he may be going somewhere or what his plans were after the party.
And so when we came up, we got up there on Sunday, and the RCMP had been there that night with their canine unit, going through the paths, the potential areas that he could have gone. And they came back first thing in the morning as soon as light came.
20 centimeters of snow falls. If somebody passed out somewhere, he could be buried in the snow. So I think everybody was confident that very quickly he was going to be found.
we met with their RCMP and search and rescue lead hand. And basically they said there was nothing they found, and we're not going to be back, and that was really tough for us.
From where he was to where he lived, You know, I mean, initially I started thinking, well, he made a shortcut, cut across through the bush, and that's pretty rough going in deep snow. You know, you could easily get into trouble there, but, you know, within a couple of days, you had to rule that out. I mean, everybody was searching.
After the professional search and rescue people come in, do their initial search, they only have so many resources and they can only do it as if the evidence is indicating something. But once that's done, and it's usually a couple of days, there needs to be something that can take its place. These volunteers came from all over Alberta, BC. They came here in droves, and the numbers kept growing each day. It was just unbelievable.
Social media probably brought everybody here quicker than anything else. We fanned out and searched all those areas. The same areas that search and rescue searched, we hit those areas again. It was a lot of work, but Ryan's worth it, right? So we just kind of kept moving on.
I thought if someone was going to call me about Ryan being away in Sun Peaks, that maybe he wasn't wearing his helmet and went snowboarding, and maybe had an accident, or, you know, hit a bump the wrong way and hurt himself. I never thought that this would be our reality.
I'd wake up and it was just like a nightmare. You're just like, am I still here? Feels like Groundhog Day every day for me.
This Sunday marks the one-year anniversary of Ryan Shtuka's disappearance. We've investigated every tip that's come in to its natural conclusion, but it's not the wanted conclusion.
Somebody knows something. Somebody knows something. We need people to come forward, and whatever tips, information, there's a variety of ways that can come through, but we do need you to step up and do what you can to help contribute to this investigation.
You mentioned that police have no evidence to suggest that Ryan left Sun Peaks. Do you guys have any evidence to suggest that he's still there?
No. No evidence has been found.
The first thing a lot of people say when you say you're from Sun Peaks now is, what do you think happened to Ryan? Where do you think Ryan is, if they've heard of the case? And I have received emails, I have gotten Facebook messages. There's been a ton of speculation online, but has just blown up in, frankly, ridiculous ways. There's a few theories or ideas that people have of what happened to Ryan that are more common with people that live in Sun Peaks, or that are more intimately aware of the details of Ryan's story. And I think those continue to be that he was drunk or high or whatever he was doing and wandered off into the woods and is going to be found, whether that's a year from now or 3 years from now. In my personal belief, that's the most likely, having been involved with the case over the last year as much as I have been.
I think it's a pretty fair conclusion that he's not here. You know, that somehow or for some way he left Sun Peaks, because between all the people that hike, as you're at, I mean, some piece of clothing is going to get found. You know, I've been out in the backcountry where I've seen dead animals lying around, and it doesn't take long before other animals are quickly into the hunt. You know, and that didn't happen here. I mean, and, you know, even if a cat had got him and dragged him away somewhere, I mean, some clothing or something has to show up. And there are people hiking all over. I mean, somebody's going to come across something. But, you know, I'm speculating, so.
Some other people believe that he was possibly hit by a driver.
Alcohol may have been involved. If the street isn't that well lit, snow conditions, visibility, and there's no evidence whatsoever to support it. But it's just a feeling that somebody driving down the road that night possibly hit Ryan and panicked and moved him to some other location.
And I think the third most popular theory is that he overdosed or had some sort of accident that night at the party, and the people that he was with somehow covered it up or hid his body.
We've had overdoses here, but all have been handled pretty well. Community's set up pretty good for it. The fire department's ready, the first responders are ready, and thank goodness we, to date, have not had any fatalities on the heavy drug side.
I feel that I know Sun Peaks well enough that that wouldn't happen, and I know of the people that were there that night and that it would come out eventually, and definitely a year later it would have come out if that had happened. Like, people don't keep secrets that well, at least not here, like, yeah.
I know there's conspiracy theories out there. Some days you think something and you go, no, it can't be that. And maybe it's not, maybe it's this. There's 100 different things that you can formulate in your head. There's no fact in anything. We're all speculating, and it's hard for me to say one thing or the other. And for me to say, yeah, somebody did something or threw him in a vehicle and went somewhere, I mean, that's a good possibility, right? It is. But it's hard for Heather and I. Ryan deserves more than just that. He deserves that we're going to get something that's factual.
I think we wanted to believe that there'd be an answer at some point, that we would find him when the snow melted. We would find him hiking through the summer. Somebody else would find him during hunting season. That if somebody knew something, if that was the case, they would have come forward. I don't know if we ever knew what day was going to be the day, but we thought it would come. And to be here a year later.
It's surreal.
Mm-hmm.
With what we're doing right now, the campaign of blanketing everything and putting that up right there, that Missing Ryan poster is huge. That's got his picture, that's got what he was wearing. People know what they're looking for, and hopefully somebody finds something, right?
I think that a lot of people see Ryan, and I think they turn and they look at their own kids and they think, there's no difference. And, we're lucky, that's what it comes down to it, and something unlucky happened to Ryan. And that you want to do whatever you can to help find Ryan or help ease some of the pain that Heather and Scott are feeling.
With most of the people that are doing what they do for this family, it is purely and simply, if it was yours, you would want someone to do it for you. You know, if it was one of my kids, I would hope somebody would travel 1,000 kilometres to come and help us. So you do what you hope to get back in life. So that's why.
I know I'd like to say thank you to everybody that's volunteered and come up and helped us on this, on searching. And there's countless friends, volunteers, family. We'd really like to thank everybody that's come up and let everybody know that we're not stopping. We're going to continue on.